I'm Kristi Beck. I am an experimental physicist and staff scientist here at Lawrence Livermore National Lab. Both my parents are engineers, and when I was in middle school and high school, I did a lot of science experiments, especially with my dad. In high school, I was on the robotics team. My dad and I built a circuit that was going to help us figure out how far the robot had traveled. When I was building this, though, the question that I kept on having was, how do the logic circuits I was building work? And we ended up talking about how transistors work. And my dad said if I needed to know more, I needed to study physics. So I went to university and started studying physics and got into a lab and started doing experiments with atoms and lasers, and I never looked back. That's really what drew me into physics, and it's the research environment that's kept me here. I work in quantum computing and quantum sensing, and one of the problems that motivates me is the future of high-performance computing. We work with a lot of supercomputers here at the lab, and in order for them to keep solving new problems, we want them to get bigger, but we can't do that in a normal sense because they're just going to take too much energy. So we need new ways of doing computation. Quantum information and quantum sensing is something that draws on technologies from all over the place. And in order for it to succeed, it's going to have to. One thing I love about the lab is how we have experts in all sorts of different areas. And it's really wonderful to be working on these collaborations where I'm bringing something to the table and these other people who are highly passionate and highly knowledgeable about their area are bringing something else. And those two together give us something that's so much more than what we could have done on our own.